Welcome back to my channel at The Movie Optimist. Today I'm going to talk about the things that I found the most interesting trending in the world of Hollywood last week. Starting at number 5, we have that picture that James Gunn posted of he and Zack Snyder standing side by side, and that took the internet by storm, especially amongst the Snyder fans. Now, I saw a bunch of people clamoring around telling James Gunn to let Zack Snyder finish his Snyder Cut, which is absolutely absurd because he spent the last couple years moving past that. And at the end of the day, I truly think, like, they're just friends. Like, James Gunn wrote the script for Dawn of the Dead and Zack Snyder directed it, and that was 10, 15, however so many years ago. And they've been friends ever since then. Yeah, sure, James Gunn maybe didn't like what Zack Snyder was doing with the DCU in terms of how dark and brooding it was, but they're still friends at the end of the day, and I really do believe it is just that. And some people looked at it like, oh, why would he do that? He knew he was going to stir the pot. And I think it was a way of him saying, like, look, there's no hatred between the two of us. There's no ill will. We're friends. I have no problems with him. And it was a way to, like, just give everyone closure. Like, it wasn't something that, like, he screwed Zack Snyder over on. He's just trying to genuinely save the DC, which is in the gutter right now. Now, I see some other people talking about, oh, maybe he'll let Zack Snyder direct something in his DCU, and I could definitely see that happening. A lot of people are asking for him to do Batman because of how awesome he directed the Batman scenes in BVS and in the Justice League, but I don't think he's gonna let Zack Snyder do a character that important. It's a little too close to home. If anything, he's gonna give him something more obscure. And in my personal opinion, after seeing The Watchmen, one of Zack Snyder's best films next to 300, I could definitely see him doing The Authority, which James Gunn announced because of the source material and how dark it is. And I think that Zack Snyder would play really well in that world. Granted, I do hope that James Gunn, if he does hire him to film a project like that, has him reel back this slow motion, because all of Rebel Moon was essentially slow motion. If you took the slow motion out of it, those movies would have been like 45 minutes long, and they're 3 hours. So that is a lot of slow motion. But yeah, I think that that could definitely work. I like Zack Snyder. There's a lot of people that hate him. I think he is a master at visual storytelling. His movies are so distinct. You always know when you're looking at one. They have this unique look to it. His movies feel like panels of a comic book burst out into real life. They're very cinematic. They're very moody. He plays with lighting expertly. Zack Snyder can film the shit out of a movie and make it look great and make it feel epic and make it action-packed. But he's not a good storyteller, and Zack Snyder works best when he's adapting somebody else's material, a la 300 or The Watchmen. Or he did that animated movie with the owls. I can't remember what the name is, but it was really good. Or like Dawn of the Dead with James Gunn. But then you look at something like Rebel Moon or Sucker Punch where he tries to do it himself, and they're not that good. The last movie he put out that I genuinely loved, outside of the Snyder Cut of the Justice League, was Army of the Dead, I believe is the one where they go to Vegas with Dave Bautista. That movie I found flawed, but really entertaining. So, like I said, I don't hate Zack Snyder the way a lot of people do. I don't understand the hate he gets. I just think he needs to make movies that are based off of other people's scripts, other people that are good at writing scripts, that's all. So I really don't think that anyone should go crazy over that James Gunn photo, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's either just a friendly picture to show the world, like, look, there's no ill will, or it's letting us know that he's gonna let Zack Snyder direct something in the DCU, in which case, the DC fan should be happy about that. The Snyder fan should be happy that he's getting a chance to dip his toe back into DC, and it'll give you guys your fix of wanting a Zack Snyder movie in the DCU. Anyway, moving on. And coming in at number 4, The Gorge is now Apple Plus's #1 movie of all time. It's like their most successful film, which on one hand is a really good thing, but on another hand, it's a really bad thing. Starting off with the good, obviously, it's a great thing that it's their most watched movie. That's going to give this movie more of a chance to get a sequel or the prequel that the writer was talking about wanting to do. And I really enjoyed this movie. It balanced the love story with the thrills and the action so well. Scott Derrickson did such a good job directing this film, and it makes me more excited to see The Black Phone 2. So I'm happy that we might actually get a sequel out of this. But the thing that bums me out is that this is just going to make Apple more firmly in the camp of skip movie theaters altogether. And at the end of the day, I am a movie theater fan. I love the movie theater. I've been going to the movies since I was a little boy with my grandma. We would go every single week. It's an experience for me. Now, not a lot of people like it. I get it. You know, it's not the cleanest of places. Sometimes you got the sticky floor. You got 30 minutes of trailers you got to sit through. And the worst thing, and this is the absolute worst thing, and I don't care what anybody says, I can't stand going to the movies and there's a bunch of people talking. Like, if you want to have a conversation with somebody, go to the mall, go to a restaurant. But why would you pay to go to the movies and then talk through it? You're paying a ticket to watch something and then you're not watching it. And I can't stand, and this is the old man shaking his fist at the sky, but I can't stand when teenagers come and then they're just loud and obnoxious the whole time. I hate it. And a lot of my friends hate it too, and it's one of the reasons why they're like, we'll just wait for it to hit streaming so we don't have to deal with the rudeness. That's really, at the end of the day, what the problem is. People have lost their manners in this generation, where you think you can go into places like that and just scream and laugh obnoxiously and run up and down the aisles and have food fights. It's like you lost your manners. You're supposed to go into a movie theater and just sit down and shut up and not talk. Like, just don't talk for 2 hours. It's not a hard concept, but people do it. And again, I'm rambling on. That aside, it's still my church. It's my haven. I go 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week to the movie theaters. It is my favorite place on the planet to be. And to see these streaming movies have such success is worrying, because then it's more of a nail in the coffin for these streamers like Netflix, like Apple, like Amazon, to put movies in the movie theater. And say what you will. Like, yeah, sure, watching The Gorge at home with your surround sound is amazing, but nothing beats sitting in a theater with a large audience and experiencing it on the big screen. It's like going to a concert. Do you want to sit home and watch your favorite band perform on TV, or do you want to go there and sing with 1,000 other people your favorite songs 100 feet away from the performers that you love so much?
On your left.
Of course you're going to want to go to the concert over watching it at home. And it's the same thing for me with the movie theater. Now, I don't know if The Gorge was going to get the reaction that I had when I went to watch like Spider-Man No Way Home, where Spider-Man, played by Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, come out of the portal and the whole theater erupts in applause. Or in Endgame, where Captain America is able to pick up Thor's hammer and the whole theater explodes and cheers. It's that experience that I love so much about the movie. It's epic and it's uplifting and it gives me goosebumps. And I get that in horror movies too, when everyone is collectively scared or they're on the edge of their seat and you could hear a pin drop because you know something is about to come but you don't know when. Those are the moments that I love in movie theaters. Or when something's sad and you hear the sniffles in the audience. That's my favorite. And say what you will about having a home entertainment system and surround sound, nothing beats the surround sound you get in a movie theater, and nothing beats the larger-than-life screen that you watch the movies on in the movie theater. So at the end of the day, am I happy that The Gorge is successful on Apple? Yes, but I'm scared that that's going to make Apple further not want to put movies in movie theaters. Coming in at number 3, apparently, while Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt were making the Smashing Machine film for A24, directed by one of the Safdie brothers, which is based off of a true story about a fighter who is also a drug addict, they apparently pitched the idea of this crime thriller that takes place in Hawaii to Martin Scorsese. They want him to direct this movie. I'm going to read the official deadline description of what the movie is, because I am not going to remember it in the short amount of time I have here to talk to you people, and I don't want to bore you. It's to be written by Nick Bilton. The film focuses on a turbulent time in the island paradise when an aspiring mob boss battled rival crime factions to wrest control of the underworld of the Hawaiian Islands. It was a bloody battle, the kind of terrain Scorsese covered in both Goodfellas and The Departed. In 1960s and 70s Hawaii, this formidable and charismatic mob boss rises to build the island's most powerful criminal empire, waging a brutal war against mainland corporations and rival syndicates while fighting to preserve his ancestral land. It's based on the untold true story of a man who fought to preserve his homeland through a ruthless quest for absolute power, igniting the last great American mob saga where the war for cultural survival takes place in the unlikeliest of places, paradise. Now, on one hand, yes, another crime thriller from Martin Scorsese. We've seen it before. We're going to continue to see it until the day Martin Scorsese dies. He loves his mob crime dramas. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He is the master at it. And we're going to get to see one in Hawaii now, which is probably nice for him because he's always filming in like the gritty gutters of like New York or LA, and now he's gonna get to film a movie in shorts and sandals. So to him, it might just be like, yeah, I'll go. It's essentially like I'm on vacation while I'm getting to do the same thing that I love, filming movies. But the thing that really impresses me here is that Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt went to pitch this to Martin Scorsese and got him excited and got Leonardo DiCaprio excited. I don't know about you, but I never thought I was gonna see The Rock and Leonardo DiCaprio in a movie ever in my life, because The Rock is very much an action star. He's a charismatic movie star in blockbuster movies. He is franchise Viagra. He made the Fast and Furious better. He rebooted the Jumanji franchise to great success. He is just a really fun, bombastic action hero, and I never really thought I would see the day where he would go into something as serious as a Martin Scorsese film, but that's what excites me. Say what you will about The Rock, I'm a big Rock fan, but as of late, he hasn't been doing too great at the box office. His Black Adam film kind of flopped. His Jungle Cruise film kind of flopped, which he also starred in with Emily Blunt. Then there was all of that bad publicity around him because of the fact that he was doing weird things on set that somebody leaked to news articles, where he would refuse to go to the bathroom and waste time on set, so instead he would pee in a bottle and give it to his assistant to throw out. Now that's disgusting, sure, but at the same time, all those same people that complained about it still said, like, yeah, he's still the nicest person in the world, but the dude's handing people warm piss bottles to throw out, and it's weird. And on top of that, apparently he's always late to set because he chooses to work out in the morning, get his pump in so that he's as big and as swole as he can be prior to them rolling cameras. And it's just like wasting money because everyone's on set waiting for him to show up, and he's showing up hours late just to be in peak performance. And again, they're just throwing money out the window, paying all these people to be here, and he's not even showing up on time, and that's not very professional. And I'll tell you what, a lot of directors that get their big break at making a blockbuster film working with Dwayne Johnson will just eat their words and sit there and deal with it because he's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But you know who's not going to deal with that? Martin fucking Scorsese is not going to deal with that. He's going to look at Dwayne Johnson and be like, you are beneath me? You are lucky I'm getting to direct a film with you? You are lucky I'm putting you in my film even though you pitched it to me, and you're going to show up on time or you're not going to be here at all. And I think that The Rock knows that, and he's looking at this like an opportunity to course correct. He's been viewed as this action star in the early 2000s to mid 2000s, but that's starting to die out where people are not showing up the way they used to for him because he's just giving us the same shtick. He's the same character in Jungle Cruise as he is in Fast and Furious, as he is in Black Adam, as he is in every other film he's been in. He's the same character in all of those, just like the way he's the same character in Jumanji. He plays the same exact character arc, and it's time for him to do something serious and show the world that he could be more than just a comedic action star. He can give us a gritty, Oscar-worthy performance in this Hawaiian crime boss, which probably means a lot to him because that is where he comes from. That is his ancestral home, and he loves it there, and he's doing it justice by trying to be in this movie and portray somebody that wanted to fight for their land. So I could see him really giving his all, his whole heart to this film, and that's definitely what Martin Scorsese is going to want out of him. And I just love this direction that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's going in because I always knew he had it in him to give a performance like this, and every time I watch one of these new B-level movies he comes out with, I'm like, come on, man, like, branch out and do something new. And this is that opportunity. And the fact that Emily Blunt is behind him, wanting to do it with him, shows that she believes in it too. And she is an Oscar-nominated actress who loves working with The Rock, so she clearly sees the potential in him as well. And I am so excited for this film. And you should be too. And coming in at number 2 is Captain America: Brave New World, dropping 68%, I believe. I think that's what I read. It was either 68% or 62%, but regardless, what does that mean for the MCU? Well, I'll tell you what, it's not good. Movies of that caliber, of these big budget blockbuster Marvel movies, typically are okay if they drop 40 to 50%. But that's even pushing it. Usually, if it's a 50% drop, everyone's happy. It only dropped half, because these movies are front-loaded. Everyone runs out on the opening weekend to see these movies, and then it usually drops. But the problem with Captain America is it only opened to 90 million, which any movie on the planet would kill for that isn't in the MCU or DCU or, I don't know, Star Wars. But most movies don't have a $200 million budget. This movie not only doesn't have a $200 million budget, this movie has like a $300 to $400 million budget because they had to film it essentially twice. They essentially filmed 2 movies, and then with those 2 movies, they cut out the things that didn't work and spliced together one coherent movie. So it was a very expensive movie. Now, I saw a lot of people saying that they read headlines that, oh, it's only $180 million. It's like, yes, the movie you saw in theaters is $180 million. But there's another $150 million sitting on the chopping block somewhere that you didn't even get to see. This was a very expensive movie. And why did they do that? They knew this movie wasn't going to break even because of the controversy surrounding it. But they were looking at this as, okay, we just had Deadpool and Wolverine come out and everyone loved it. Guardians of the Galaxy came out and everyone loved it. If we could at least make this movie good and not a train wreck and people like it, then that'll just make Thunderbolts be in a better position to do well. And that'll make Fantastic Four in a better position to do well. Now, me, myself, I liked Captain America Brave New World. It has its problems, and you could definitely feel that multiple directors had their hand in this and trying to bring it to life, and you could feel where the reshoots are, but I thought it was a great story that showcased why Sam deserves to be Captain America, and it got me on board to seeing him lead the Avengers in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. But this drop is bad, and the reason why I think it dropped as much as this, and don't get me wrong, it's not a catastrophic drop like a 90% where it only makes like 10 million as opposed to the 90 million it opened with. It still made like 20 to 30 million, but the reason why this is bad is because that means that this movie is getting bad word of mouth. People aren't talking to their friends saying like, hey, this is great, you should go out and see it. For the most part, people are saying, it's okay. And hearing that from a lot of other people that don't have a lot of money to go to the movies all the time are sitting there like, oh, well, we'll just wait in 45 days. It'll go on Disney Plus and we'll watch it for free. We already pay for that. And that's not good because that means that this movie won't break even. This movie probably needs to make between 500 and 600 million just to break even, not even to be profitable, just to make $1 back. And right now in its second weekend, it's only at like 290 million, which some people might be thinking, hey, that's good, but it's not because it had no competition this week. Nothing big came out. It was really on its own. Sure, The Monkey came out, but The Monkey was never gonna be like $100 million movie. So Captain America should have done a lot better, but again, the word of mouth is not great on this movie and people aren't rushing out to see it. So could this movie be like The Greatest Showman that opened with 8 million and went on to make like 400 million because it had great word of mouth? I don't know. It's a 50-50%. There's not a lot of competition coming out anytime soon, so Captain America could have legs. It could just crawl and scratch its way to like 500 million and break even and not be a colossal train wreck and lose the MCU money, but I do think it's unlikely. I think by next weekend, it's going to be in the single-digit numbers in terms of what it makes domestically at the box office. And to the people that are watching this and are on the fence about seeing it, I hear a lot of people's complaints. I hear a lot of people saying it didn't look good, or I saw the Rotten Tomato meter and I'm not going to go out to see a movie that has negative tomato. Look, if it has a 50% Rotten Tomato score, that doesn't mean that everyone collectively is saying it's a 5 out of 10. It means that out of 100 people that went to see it, 5 of them liked it, 5 of them didn't. But nobody wants to make their own opinions anymore. Everyone's just so quick to hop on the bandwagon of their favorite reviewer online that they don't make their own opinions. Look, I refuse to let Rotten Tomatoes or CinemaScore or whatever rating system sway my opinion on whether I'm going to make a movie or not, because if I've done that, there will be a lot of movies that I've seen that I really liked that I wouldn't have seen because I trusted some schmuck on Rotten Tomatoes that I have no affiliation with. I like the last Resident Evil movie that came out where they spliced together like the first 3 games into one. Isn't a great adaptation? No, but it's still a loose adaptation nonetheless, and I enjoyed the attempt that they made at bringing those video games that I love so much to life, and I wound up genuinely liking that movie. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, I liked it, but if I listened to the Rotten Tomato scores, I wouldn't have watched it. Same thing with the Borderlands film, which everyone on the planet, except for me, hates. I played the games, I'm not like a diehard fan of them, but I genuinely just like watching Kevin Hart go on an adventure with Cate Blanchett and kill a bunch of bad guys. Like, it was just turn your brain off, shove popcorn in your face, enjoyable film for me, and if I listened to the critic scores, I wouldn't have went to see it. And there's millions of other movies like that that I like that a lot of people didn't, but I didn't listen to the reviews and I went to make my own opinion, and that is what you should do too. If you're so in the camp of like, oh, the MCU sucks, I'm not gonna watch it, then this isn't for you. But for people that are on the fence about it, I urge you to make your own opinion and don't care what anybody else thinks. Art is subjective. You can go into a museum and see a painting that you think is the ugliest thing you've ever seen, but somebody behind you could look at it and cry because it makes them feel so happy just looking at it. All art is viewed differently, and you might love something that somebody else hates. It's like the old saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Form your own opinion. And for the people that like, I seen this trailer come out for Captain America, and people were like, oh, this looks like shit, I'm not gonna go see it, Marvel sucks. And then the Fantastic Four trailer came out, and people were like, oh, this looks like shit, Marvel sucks, they don't know how to make good movies anymore. And I'm just like, what is with the negativity? I don't understand. It's like, when I hear people say that, I look at them and I'm like, are you a sports fan? Oh, you are? What fan are you? What's your favorite sports team? Oh, the Cowboys? Well, the Cowboys haven't been in the Super Bowl for the last, I don't know, since I was born in 1992. Why do you show up every year to support them if they keep letting you down? It's the same thing with the MCU. If you're such a big MCU fan, why are you not hoping for the best? You're just expecting the worst. You act like everything they've put out since Endgame has just been trash, and it hasn't. Look, was Thor: Love and Thunder good? No, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either, so I'll give you that if you want to use that as one of your crutches as into the MCU has dipped in quality. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I thought was a bad MCU film, but was a fun science fiction film. But if you want to use that one as well to say, like, hey, like the MCU has dipped in quality, fine, I'll give you that one as well. Now we have Brave New World that not a lot of people are liking. Fine, I'll give you that. It's not the best. So if you want to use that as a crutch to lean on in terms of the quality of the MCU, you have me there. But we also have Spider-Man No Way Home, which everyone and their mother went to see 14 times over. We have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is the best in the trilogy and made $800 million and everyone loved. We have Deadpool and Wolverine that everyone went to see 15 times over and everyone loved. We had Shang-Chi, which was one of the best MCU films ever, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of Kung Fu movies, so the fact that we got that in an MCU film is awesome, and I don't know why we haven't gotten a Shang-Chi 2 yet. Where is it, Marvel? But the point I'm making is, sure, they have some stinkers, but they also have put out really good films too. So why is everyone so negative on everything that comes out? Be a little bit more positive. It's so easy to be optimistic that I don't know why you put so much stress and hate in being pessimistic. Give Thunderbolts a chance. Give Captain America Brave New World a chance. Give Fantastic Four a chance, because Captain America was greenlit under the Bob Chapek era, but once he got fired and Bob Iger came back, everything after Captain America, including Daredevil Born Again, is under the direction of Bob Iger, and Bob Iger giving Kevin Feige back creative control where Bob Chapek took that from him. So I think that the MCU is looking up, and I'm really excited for what's in store for us. And coming in at number 1, the Broccoli's have relinquished control of the James Bond property to Amazon and MGM, and this has me nervous. The Broccoli's have controlled the James Bond franchise for the last 60 plus years. They have ushered in all of the reboots, all of the new castings, all of the movies. They have had full creative control. They've protected the legacy of this iconic character, and the fact that they were fighting with Amazon a couple weeks ago and talking about how they couldn't see eye to eye, and now they've relinquished the rights to control James Bond, I am really scared for the property. They understood that James Bond isn't something to get 46 spin-offs and 15 movies a year. They understood that James Bond is an event film. It's like the World Cup. It's like the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl only happened once every couple years. It's something that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it is this big monumental event that everyone rushes to see. James Bond is one of the most iconic characters in cinematic history, and the fact that they were fighting with Amazon around the direction to go is what has me the most nervous, because clearly Amazon just wrote them a giant, fat, juicy check to go away. They bought the rights to James Bond and MGM couple years ago. They wanted to take it in a new direction that the Broccoli's didn't agree with, which is concerning because they know what makes James Bond work. And look, they haven't always made great James Bond movies. I mean, Quantum of Solace wasn't that good, even though that was done during the writer's strike. They've put out some stinkers, but they've also put out some of the greatest James Bond films ever made. And the fact, again, I keep going back to this, that they were fighting with Amazon and now they're gone, tells me that Amazon wants to do something that the Broccoli's didn't agree with. And I can only imagine it's that they want to put out more James Bond than just once every 3 years, which some people are probably like, yeah, that's great. But what's going to happen is it's going to dilute the James Bond franchise. They're going to put out a James Bond movie, then they're going to put out a spin-off about Q trying to figure things out by using computers, and they're going to put out a Moneypenny spin-off, then they're going to put out this spin-off, then they're going to do a spin-off of 009, because who gives a shit about that guy? And then if they're not great, it's just going to bring down people's expectations and excitement for a James Bond film. And again, James Bond has been a movie theater juggernaut. And I'm afraid that Amazon is going to stick this on Amazon Prime, where it's not going to make any money and it's not going to get the box office sensation that it would get if it went to theaters. I'm afraid that Amazon isn't going to do as good of a job at vetting the writers and the cast here. I mean, you had Jeff Bezos go online and ask the fans who they want to see cast as James Bond. And of course, everyone picked Henry Cavill. I get that. I would love Henry Cavill to be James Bond if this was like 10 years ago. But one of the things the Broccoli did really well is they got an idea first. They got a story first, and then they had a director go out and pick whoever was the best person to portray that story, that new iteration of Bond, where just off the bat, it seems like Jeff Bezos is like, we're going to cast somebody and make a movie around them. And that's not the way you do things. Now, look, Amazon has put out a lot of great stuff. You got the Fallout adaptation, that's like the video game turned to TV series by Christopher Nolan's brother Jonathan Nolan. That was really good. You have The Boys. They've done a lot of really good stuff. So is there a chance that they could put out a fantastic James Bond film? Yeah. There is. I'm not going to discredit that from them. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. But again, they were fighting with the Broccoli's for a reason, and that reason is unknown to me, and it's that gray area that scares me because I don't want to see them dilute this brand. I don't want to feel like I'm getting a James Bond-like show in the world of James Bond every other month, because then it's not going to make me as excited to see James Bond when it finally comes out. And I'm not going to be excited if they just dump a James Bond film on Amazon Prime. That is not where it belongs. You don't do James Bond dirty like that. James Bond is iconic and he deserves to be in the movies. And at the end of the day, they could put it in the theater. Amazon has put movies in the movie theater. Manchester by the Sea was one of my favorite films of all time that was done by Amazon that they put in theaters, but they really did that because they knew it was an Oscar contender, and in order to win an Oscar, those movies have to go into theaters for a limited time. I think it's like 2 weeks to be able to qualify for an Oscar. So that's why a lot of streamers put a lot of movies in theaters that are like that, because Netflix wants to be able to say, hey, we have a movie that won an Oscar. Amazon wants to be able to say, hey, we have a movie that won an Oscar. Apple Plus wants to be able to say, hey, we have multiple movies that won Oscars. That's what they want, but they know James Bond isn't going to win an Oscar. So what's better, put it out in a theater or put it on Amazon, where that's the only place people can go to see it? Let's drive our subscribers up. Let's get our views up. Let's get our advertisements in there for all the shit you could buy on Amazon. Again, I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but it's really scary that that is what they could do. I would have felt a lot better if this went to like Warner Brothers or Sony or Universal, but it's not. It went to a streaming service, so only time will tell what the fate of one of my favorite movie characters of all time is. There is one silver lining though, one, and that is that Christopher Nolan originally wanted to do a James Bond film, but said he would only do it if he had full creative control, and he would have made it a period piece that took place like in like the 1920s and 30s, which I think would be awesome. And although I don't know if he himself will do it because he has such a big behemoth of a movie on his plate right now with the Odyssey, and Amazon's gonna want to start rolling into James Bond right now that they have the green light to start doing that because the Broccoli's aren't interfering. What I think they could do is hire Jonathan Nolan, who did Fallout, who did Westworld, to come and helm this, and he can work with his brother, Christopher Nolan, and have Nolan help him write the script, and we will get like a pseudo, yes, it's a Jonathan Nolan James Bond film, but with help in the writing department from his brother Christopher Nolan, which in my opinion is the greatest director working today. So if that happens, that is definitely something I can get behind and get excited about, because Nolan loves James Bond. Both of them, both Jonathan and Christopher Nolan, they both talked about how much they love that character and how they grew up idolizing that character. So with that silver lining, I have some hope. And I think that Amazon would be silly to not even consider it because of how much Christopher Nolan has expressed wanting to make a movie. They got the next best thing in Jonathan Nolan, who's just gotten a fat check to make whatever he wants because of how popular the Fallout show was. And that show won Emmys. So who knows? We might get a James Bond film done by a Nolan. Anyway, what do you guys think about the Broccoli surrendering the rights to James Bond? Are you excited about it now that Amazon can kind of do their own thing? Maybe you love all the stuff that Amazon's done, so you see this as an absolute win, or maybe you're just as scared as I am. If you are, let's talk about it in the comments down below, guys. And as always, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you next time.